Morning all, welcome to another video. We're looking at Saturday's racing. Had a bit of an issue last night, was recording something else, which means I'm doing this a little bit later, but sorry for that, it's still being done. We've got 4 jobs meetings on Saturday. Air's pretty weak in terms of what I'd want to look at, so we won't even bother going through that. Wetherby, Ascot, Down Rules, decent. I'm going to kick off with the racing over in Ireland. I think we did that for Friday as well. I haven't quite made as many notes as I did do for the Friday stuff, so we might flap a tiny bit on some of the races just to talk about some depth, but we'll get through as quick as we can. So, first race at Down Royal is a 3-year-old hurdle. Quilixios for Gordon Elliott. It's already been well back for the Triumph after its last win. The whole connections thing as well, I think, getting the hype around it. Looks like it's going to be a nice prospect for the season. I wouldn't really be getting too keen on juveniles this early on in the season. Diva Racing, set up by Ryan Tongue, that used to be the racing manager for Gretchen Parkin. Probably does other bits and pieces as well. This was a really, really nice winner over in Ireland. So yeah, not necessarily saying that this is going to be beating the big name, but it's definitely an interesting one to get in the £4. It's a match between the Gigginstown pair. But yeah, it wouldn't be one for punting. Just don't be surprised if this Glorious Zoff makes Quilixilos work, and if he doesn't, then it probably makes Quilixilos fairly good. Second race is the maiden hurdle, Ballyadam. Lots of talk again around this week. So Keith Donoghue has said that this horse is faster than Envoy Land, jumps better apparently. Just saying that it will take all the beating in the Supreme. Now, there's been lots of talk between where Fernie Hollow's going to go, where Ballyadam's going to go. It's so early in the season, we just don't even really know yet. Look at the likes of Envoy Land, the Betfair preview before the festival. Pretty much went favourite for the, well, we did. He went favourite for the Supreme on the exchanges and actually drifted out on the exchanges for the Ballymore. York Hill's been a similar one when he went and won the Ballymore. So just keep an eye on how Ballyadam does it. And to be honest with you, these comments that come on the outside are fine. You do need to pay attention to them in terms of a trainer says it's definitely going in one direction, but you want to be watching these horses for yourself and making your own mind up. I think Ballyadam, when he got beat on his first bumper, has given me enough of a question mark around him to say I need to see him a couple of times over hurdles till I'll be able to work out his discipline, I think, in terms of distance. So yeah, I'd expect him to win this, though. It doesn't really look a very good race. We'll just go and let him go. The only thing with that, again, with me saying it's not really a very good race, is the fact that he was beat on that debut in the bumper. I'm not saying he's going to be beat here, but I mean, if you were just looking for the sake of taking one on, he's going to be short. There might be a chance to have a look at a couple that probably could. He's a Hardy Bloke and Colonel Mustard were last time out winners. They'll probably be the shorter ones, sort of single figure-ish. Figure-ish. Right, Wicked Handicap Hurdle, Grade B. Now, this isn't a handicap hurdle that I'm going to be going through in any great depth because I haven't got the time to go through it, to be brutally honest. But it is a nice-looking handicap. Now, this will be one to definitely watch because there could be eye catchers in behind and winners for next time out. Veryman's a nice horse that I do like quite a lot. Gavin Browder, the £7 claimer, he's absolutely stealing the £7. He's much better jock than that. That brings the Veryman down to 131. That makes him interesting enough for me. So if I get the time to have another look into it, I will. And then he might be one that's sort of on my radar for ones to back. But there are lots of nice types in here. Hannon's pretty good. Another one that's got a useful claimer on there. Getaway Gorgeous, to be fair, probably still can run better than the 130 that she is. Yeah, it's a nice enough looking race, is the long and the short of it. The Veryman would be the one that interests me with Gavin Browder on there. We'll see what sort of price and I'll look in the race in a bit more depth. That's not necessarily an advice of a back now. It's just one to say maybe you guys want to have a go look at as well. Ladbrokes Champion Chase, the Grade 1. First Grade 1 of the season, I believe. Pretty decent lineup, to be honest. Surname was talked about coming over here to see if he goes 3 miles and see whether he stays. Obviously, he's going Charlie Hall now. This just looks a really, really good renewal, to be honest. Delta Work heads the market, rightly so. He can sometimes need his first run, so if you're a big fan of his, I wouldn't be disappointed even if he completely flopped in this race. Wouldn't run the rule for the rest of his season, but I do expect Delta Work to be winning this. 2A Permi and the Storyteller, they were running against each other the last day. I don't think there's any reason why that form would be reversed. I don't think, although they're off level weight because it's a Grade 1 now, I don't think the Storyteller was getting anything, if not much. No, there were level weights there, so yeah, no reason for that to be reversed. I know Noel Meads in flying form and likes this meeting as much as Gordon Elliott does, but yeah, no reason to see that reversed. Ravenhill won the National Hunt Chase at Cheltenham. just doesn't have the class for this. But when it's got a 152 rating, sometimes they run him in here to get those marks down. Percy will obviously be interesting, but I can't see him going in here first time up. Chris's Dream was one that a lot of people were touting for a Gold Cup last year, sort of like a Wise Guys outsider. It would be interesting in here, but really you'd expect Delta Work to be winning this. 13 to 8 doesn't really look a bad price, to be honest, but I for one would be leaving him alone just for the fact that it's the first one of the season. Sort of anything can happen, and you wouldn't be surprised if he did get beat. He is the one to be on though. 3 o'clock, it's an intermediate kind of chase. So it's ones that have not won a chase before a certain time of year. So basically, it's horses that were novices last season. Sam Crow, I don't know why the prices aren't up on the right hand side, but Sam Crow's not favourite for this race. Easy Game is, and that confuses me slightly. I know Easy Game's got the recent factor, and it's won nicely, but I would have had the pair a lot closer together. I think Sam Crow might have been even bigger before. You look in terms of the horses that he's beaten, especially recently, that Storyteller victory looks pretty good on paper now, but it was over a trip too short for the Storyteller probably, and that was more of a prep run for him. Yeah, I think I think they're both really nice horses. I just think at the prices you'd have to be on Sam Crow. He's going to shorten up, which then means that Sam Crow will no longer be the value. But yeah, it probably is a match between the pair. To be honest, Battle Over Doran probably wants a bit further. Sizing Potsy makes too many mistakes. Will step forward this season, but probably isn't yet good enough to be really beating that pair. Yes, I'd fancy Sam Crow. The price is starting to get skinny enough though, so if you do get the chance to watch the video and you do want to back him, then get in. I haven't personally backed him as yet, even though he did look a biggish price yesterday. Again, just being swamped with everything. I'll have a quick look on the exchange to see what sort of price he is, and he may be one that I might leave and play it by ear. Again, it's so early in the season, I'm not desperate to be punting just for the sake of it. There'll be plenty of opportunities for value, but yeah, I feel like Sam Crow's the wrong price. And that's sometimes where it's like a bit of a concern. If I had these two at maybe, to be honest with you, I'd probably add them 6 to 4 the pair. So Sam Crow's not great value anymore. So it's one of them. I don't want to just be backing horses because they're the wrong price. Sometimes that is the case though. So kind of you get my vibe with that race. Bumper at the end. I haven't looked again through this in like real great depth, but luckily we know quite a few of the names off the top of our head. The only name to know in this one is Gerard. Real hype horse. The connections, all those bits and pieces again. It's going to be a lot of hype around it. Obviously they won with Envoy. Obviously they won with Fernie Hollow. Just sit back, watch him. He's going to be very short. Now, Vintage Prosecco that's got Patrick Mullins on. Felony's Point. From comments in there, I haven't seen this one in its point to be fair, but comments in there looks like it was there or thereabouts. I'd probably go off and watch this one's performance, but the easiest thing that I do with the point-to-point form is have a quick look at some of the horses that are in behind. So Smurfy Enki, we know that ran at Cheltenham. It won a bumper at Wincanton before by a wide margin. Got beat at Cheltenham in that bumper, so it's a nice enough horse. We know that's a sort of an above-average horse, but probably not to pitch it too early in the season, but that's probably a 130s horse top. The winner, if we just take a quick look on here, bought by JP McManus. Got beat recently over hurdles, but again, because when there's tons of comments like that, it means there's enough to see in there that it's probably going to come on for the run. Behind Bob Oddinger in a bumper, we know how good Bob Oddinger is. That maybe levels it out to say that he's not. This one might not be top draw, but again, those comments from the point, this horse might have gone and won that race, and if this horse was going to go and beat these types, then you know it's a fair sort. So long and the short of it for this bumper is Sir Gerard's going to be favourite. Sir Gerard's the one to keep your main eye on. But this Patrick Mullins mount Vintage Prosecco is well worth keeping an eye on, because whether it's now, whether it's the next time out or anything like that, I think that's going to be winning races soon enough. And yeah, don't be surprised if that's the one that makes Sir Gerard work. Now the thing with that is it's going to be priced accordingly. It will be second fav, so I'm not really saying anything that you guys wouldn't see in the market after. Weatherby, decent meeting there. This is something that I've previewed for Colossus. Me and Darren are doing a bit of a head-to-head thing on there, so I have given a selection for each race on there, but I wouldn't be interested in the handicap chase. Novices Hurdle, Ashtown Lab, Brief Ambition, they're the two to focus on here. Penny for a pound, point form. Now I'll give you a quick look at his point form to tell you how I deduce the level of ability. I do go and watch the races as well, but this will just give you a quick skim of it. So 2 1s next to its name. Obviously looks good from the bat. Certain courses are better than others, and I won't go into that in this particular race or this particular video just because time. Now, I do go deeper than the second and the third for some races. Just in this instance, we'll just have a look at Glengar because I know it's been running recently. It's a name that jumps up. And again, this isn't exclusively saying this is how the ratings work, but if you look, that's an 89 rated chaser and an 84 rated hurdler. So not again, it's not necessarily literal, but they run against each other. That's just one to look at. Because that's such a poor one, we'll go back third. And again, doesn't mean that this is all of it, but you can have a look there. It's carried on in points, and it's done absolutely nothing in points since. Now, you want to look down the bottom for the pulled up, slipped ups, fell, all those bits and pieces. See bits of comments to see if they were there or thereabouts, but not a lot to jump on with there. That's one of the points, and then we can have a quick look at the second one. Now, a more recent point. Sometimes you wouldn't get too many clues from it, but this one was still October last year. This horse has had some time out once it's been with the yard, so you know they're taking their time with it to get forward. This has come out after. Now the Billaway, the Maiden Hunter Chase, Billaway was fancied for Cheltenham, wasn't it? But okay, did go and win a point after or before, sorry, and then it's come and got beaten after. So it's beating a horse with a bit of experience, but maybe limited experience is what I'd have to suggest. So, not saying this is an absolute howler of a horse, but if you start to look at the breeding to give yourself a bit of clue, say, look, come on, am I being a bit harsh with this horse? Is it better than I think it is? The Dam has only produced this runner, I believe, so we'll wait for that to load up. And then I'll just have a quick skim at the Grand Dam, and then there's more ways to go into the breeding, but for a quick view in here, gives you a bit of a feel of distances and quality of the horses. So you can see there's a bunch of jumped horses. They've managed to get one winner out of it, and it's a pretty lowly 110 best rating post rating. So not exactly bred in the purple with winners. Point form doesn't look that strong, but it did win both of them. It's had a year off, so I could be being harsh. It's just I just wanted to more mention that because it's a good example of showing point form. Now, that's not to say that this isn't going to go and hack up. Ashtown Lad and Brief Ambition do set the standard. It's a pretty weak novices hurdle, but I would suggest this penny for a pound might lure people in. It might not be quite that good. You've got to judge them on their own merit under rules, but just to mention. Now, this handicap chase, I don't really bang on about chases too much, but Guy is much better than 125. A friend of mine has got horses in some syndicates and sent me some footage of this horse schooling at home. Jesus, it jumps so well. Told me to back it on chase debut. I kind of made my own judgment up and left it alone to think, oh, do you know what? Get so much info, I'm not that interested. It was good ground as well, so maybe that made a bit of a difference. I don't know, but it absolutely bolted up. It's got up £12 for it. It's better than that. It's a 140s horse, I reckon. So going again, don't really get stuck into handicaps too often, but I am definitely backing Guy. He opened up about 5 or 6s. There may have been bigger before that. Again, he's not one I've backed yet. I think I can probably still get about 3 or 4 to 1 on him. I don't care about the fact that I could have got a point bigger, to be fair. He's the one to beat in this, and I'd be happy to back him. Whether he's going to reach a ceiling sooner rather than later, I don't know. I wouldn't expect it. That's only his first run over fences. I think he should be winning this. So it is actually a better handicap for me there. Mares Hurdle listed race. Look, Verdana Blue has got to run significantly under her official rating to win this. It's been so long since she won a race. It was the Scottish Champion Hurdle. That she doesn't even carry a penalty. So that's how far back it's been since she's won. The ground's going to be a concern if it gets soft. Nicky Henderson's going to run her regardless, I think, because they got to beat at Kempton. She is no way a betting proposition, but you try and look for value against her. It's only one extra place up for grabs, and it's quite hard to do that. There might be some without markets that could be interesting. White Hot Chili Filly, she struggled at Cheltenham in the Mares Novice. I think the class of race put her to a chance to bed. So maybe that's going to be the same here. Despite it not being like proper class, Verdana's good enough that, I mean, they might sit back with her. They probably would want to go on and force the issue, and she might struggle for pace. If they go slow, then White Hot Chili Filly on slower ground will be very well suited. I'd be tempted with Born in Boris for Colin Tizard. Ran well enough at Chepstow, over a little bit further. His horses obviously need the run and come on for it. Won a decent, I say decent. It won a novice mares hurdle at, I think it might have been Wincanton before, and it looked pretty good there. Like class-wise, it shouldn't be really troubling something like a Verdana Blue. Will handle any ground. If there was a betting without market and you see that the way this is formed, then this should probably be, hopefully, somewhere around about a 3-1 poke. Probably maybe get bigger with some bookies. So if this was sort of 4-1 ish in the without Verdana Blue market, I'd be very interested in having a poke on that. That's more punting for the sake of punting, though, so it's not really necessarily the way to do it. Let's make no mistake, Verdana Blue should be winning this, but if you're fancying a few bets on the Saturday for something to watch on the telly, then maybe Born in Boris without could be the way. I probably wouldn't be playing that just for the fact that I got plenty of time in the season to be having a bet, but I'd have a look at it, and if it was bigger than 4-1, so like much bigger, like 5 plus, I would definitely be going in. 3-4-1 feels like it's about-ish right, but 4s I'd be tempted to take a punt. Sorry for the confusion in my conviction there, but I talk myself in and out of these bets sometimes, and for the sake of doing this video, I'm looking for that without. It wouldn't normally be the way that I play. Right, the West Yorkshire Hurdle, Grade 2, Bet365 Hurdle, Lisnagar Oscar. Right, the one thing I need to say about this horse is, yes, it broke my heart when it beat Paisley at Cheltenham, just because Paisley underperformed. That was a weird stairs hurdle as well, wasn't it? Because Apples Jade for Dickie Johnson first time up went an absolute stupid pace. The key thing with all of this is I looked at it after and I thought, you know what? When Paisley Park won the Cleve Hurdle, I was a little bit underwhelmed with the way that he finished and all that sort of stuff. So the fact that Lisnagar Oscar then went on and won the stairs hurdle helped me realise that Paisley Park was in really good form, because this run in the Cleve Hurdle was decent, stayed on third, and you think the 50-1 poke, I know obviously he's got lengths to make up on. Paisley there was £3 worse off, but it wouldn't have been fully wound up for it. So I don't think it was a shock victory. We'll still have to see how he gets on for like his season in like as the champion. I couldn't be having Next Destination off a massive layoff. Holstone's the one that's really interesting. Second in this in 2017. I know they went novice chase with him, but I think they've got him wound up for this, to be honest. He has got an entry in the Hennessy. Whether he goes there or not, I'm not 100% sure. They probably would. I don't see why not. But this, like over hurdling, I think he's got a proper chance, to be fair. Even on official figures, we can see that he's 151. Getting £6 from Lisnagar Oscar puts him fairly close, only £3 between the two of them. 7-1 looks a big price. There is enough space in there for an each-way bet. I don't bet that way. I'm not a massive fan of each-way bets. Just not necessarily like as a hard and fast rule, but it's just I'd rather back something to win. I'd rather be that confident about it. Holstone's not big enough to lure me in for a win bet, but if you're looking at the place markets or you're looking for each way, Holstone is really interesting. Roxana's the right-ish price. 2 runs over 3 miles that I can think of behind If the Cap Fits and behind Santini all the way back when she ran at Aintree. She was a horse to follow after that. Didn't necessarily disappoint because she went and won a mare's hurdle, but I think 3 miles, she's 8, she's pretty unexposed, she's only had those 2 spins over them, but they're both bits of good form, so no reason to suggest that she wouldn't go well in here, and the fact that she's getting a mighty £13 from the top, she is probably, on paper, the one to beat. So I make the race between that trio. Yeah, it's not one that's going to be luring me in for a bet, to be honest, but good luck if you are. Charlie Hall Chase, I think plenty of people will be agreeing that Surname's one to probably want to take on. And then when you start to look at the horses to take them on, Ballyoptic that won it last year was so impressive, but we haven't had a 10-year-old winner of this for a while. And back-to-back winners of it as well. We're talking One Man and I can't remember the other last one slightly more recently. Might come to me, but anyway, back-to-back winners is a far and few between, and they're proper like class horses as well. Not saying Ballyoptic's not that classy, but he's not that classy. Probably going to place. Definitely Red couldn't have him at 11 again. Vindication, I think, will go well round here. The tricky thing is his jump-in's pretty good. Weatherby, you need to be able to jump well, so I wouldn't necessarily be worried about that. This is just a proper step up in class. But look, you can go back to when he ran at Sandown in the 2.5 miles, City Isle Novices Chase, when he was favourite to beat Defi de Soy. Lost in Translation was in there as well. Not saying he necessarily should have been favourite, but he's a class horse. He's improving. He's the right sort of age. I think Vindication is the one. You can see where the money's come from him. Sam Spinner had that layoff. He's going into open company now. I don't think he jumps particularly well enough. He wouldn't be for me. Mr. Whitaker's interesting. Le Bagoir, given how much weight she's now getting from Ballyoptic compared to what she did last year when she was sent off as 5-2 favourite. Had the wind up, wasn't going to win in the last day when she sprawled on landing. I think she would be interesting enough, to be fair. She's just not been the same mare out of novice company, has she? So you can make a slight case for a couple of them. I Right's going to be, or has been popular by lots of people. I honestly look at this horse as 146 and think he might have a tiny bit of wiggle room. At the most, I'd say that he could be a 150 horse. That isn't, on these terms, going to be good enough, really, to suggest that he should be winning a Charlie Hall chase. He's got an entry in the Hennessy. I would just look at him and think they've got him 146, shove him in the Hennessy, get him beat, and you might lose a couple of pounds for the Hennessy. We'll see. Had that flat spin. Had a prep run, whether it's for this or for the Hennessy itself. Had that prep run, but it was only over 2 mile. One Nutswell obviously went on and won after. Everyone's sort of looking at that and jumping on about it. We know that I Right's a fairly nice horse. We can see bits and pieces here, but again, last season behind Sam Spinner, that sort of price golf between the pair of them. You can see why he would be popular when he was 40s, and he's still 22s now, as maybe an each way poke, but I can't see him winning it. Yeah, Vindication would be the one that I'd want to side with, but I've played the pair, to be honest. I played Ballyoptic and Vindication earlier in the week. I think I said that when I looked at the declarations. It's worked out that I've got about 3-1 by backing both of them. I'm happy that 3-1 to take on the field with that pair. Nothing else after that. So again, conscious of time that I wanted to keep these short, we're going to fly through Ascot. I'm still going to let you guys know everything that I like. So Ascot's had less attention from me, just because I've been doing bits for Weatherby, but I have been through and I do know the races and the horses that we want to be looking at. I'm just having another skim just to see in case anything's come out. So this is the one that needs talking about, the one that we need to see what goes on with it. Right, so Soddy Dock AA, horse I love. I mentioned it in the entries stage, or before they were finally declared, and then I mentioned it in terms of the fact that it ran in this race last year and then it was beaten at Newbury, and it would have won at Newbury if it hadn't bumped into one of Venetia's, yada yada yada. So basically the long and the short of it is Soddy Dock AA, if you go back and watch this race at Ascot last year, could have finished a hell of a lot closer. So Soddy Dock could be trying here and could go and win here. I think it's of a low enough mark. This could also be a prep run like they used it for last year to go to that novices chase at Newbury, and I wonder whether they're going to do that again, whether that's maybe a little bit too obvious, because he'll run nowhere here and then he'll go to Newbury, everyone will look at the lines and then maybe he'll be short. Don't really know if they've worried too much about prices, but I'm going to back Soddy Dock AA here. I did say 8-1-ish would be an entry point, so we can see with a few bookies we can get that. Can't get best odds guaranteed. So I'm going to hold out for Bet365 to pull it up. And the reason I want best odds guaranteed is just in case he drifts. And it doesn't matter so much if he does drift and then obviously he went and won, but you'd think a JP horse that's drifting is going to be a worry. And then it does give me the potential, if I wanted to trade out of the bet, I could potentially cash out on Bet365, take 90% of my stake, and then I could play him at a huge price on the exchanges, or I could decide to slide the bet out at all. I mean, I probably wouldn't. I would let the bet go. But the 9-1, I'll be honest, is tempting me. But I had 8-1 as the entry point, so it's only a point higher. Sort of fear of missing out is making me want to back it. We could look at backing it with Betfair, because you'll get your cash out, or Paddy Power. You'll pretty much get 100% cash out backing those. I struggle with accounts and bets on both of those. I don't know if I want to be asking someone to back just for the sake of it. But if you've got a Betfair account, bang a bet on Soddy Dock. And then if you can get the same price or better with Bet365, cash that, put it on there, then you'll get best odds guaranteed. I think a few of you with your Betfair accounts might get best odds guaranteed anyway. But yeah, 9-1 Soddy Dock AA. I'll back him now, and then the plan is, if he doesn't win and he runs well in this, or it doesn't even matter how he runs, we'll watch him. He'll have a bit left. We're going to smash him at Newbury. So we win this time, or he's going to win the time after, as far as I'm concerned. So we'll see. Kind of sounds a bit like a cliff horse, doesn't it? But if you go back and watch the run last year, then at Ascot, you'll see how it could have finished closer. And then you watch the one at Newbury, you see how far clear they were of the third. It's had the wind up, got the first time tongue tie on. Maybe that's the preparation for the next time out. They could be trying, couldn't they? I just think 9-1, you'd be silly not to back it. And like I say, if he doesn't go in this time, I'm happy to back him next time up as well. And then maybe, if he doesn't show it there, we could look at putting him on the back burner list. Listed handicap chase wouldn't interest me in the slightest. The novices hurdle is an okay race. It's not one to get too excited about, I don't think. Like the usual suspects have got runners in here. Dan Skelton, but the fact that Harry's not here, he's somewhere else, suggests this wouldn't be one that he's worried about missing. I think that the Nicky Henderson runner's probably going to be luring a few in. Captain Morgs has already had a run, got beat there, but you know, he's will to come on for it. was narrowly beaten. I just don't think it looks a great novices hurdle. I'd be tempted to just sit back, watch this race, and maybe use it as a feeler for the future. Strike and oppose for Colin Tizard's interesting because I think his horses may, I mean, we don't know yet, but they may maybe turning a corner at some point soon. So whether it's going to be this weekend or the weekend after, I do feel like they're going to be running well soon. Was obviously reasonably well fancied. It's a pretty poor race by the looks of that. Yeah, it'll be one to watch more than one to get involved in. The Sodexo Handicap listed race. This is one that I've been going back and forth so much on. Now, I really like Sebastopol. I believe he had a kissing spine a while back. 142 does look like it's probably high enough, and would want the ground on the better side, so you'd need to pay attention to the ground before you thought about having a bet. But Sebastopol, I still think, can run really well off of that kind of mark. Hanging there, sort of flopped after Cheltenham. It ran there before the meeting, and then it's suddenly gone backwards a little bit. But you'd think at some point that would be able to run well and go well in a handicap. Aidan Cohen would normally be riding, but he's riding Kid Commander for Anthony Honeyball. That's the right favourite. Probably wants a bit further, maybe 2.5 miles would suit this horse better than the 2. Wants slower ground, probably. The form behind Soaring Glory is going to get people really, really excited, but Soaring Glory beat Brave Man's Game and Kid Commander in a bumper here, and then it beat Brave Man's Game at Chepstow, so we don't really know how strong the form is. We're basing that on both of those being quite good. 136 looks like it should be winnable. Anthony Honeyball's made a comment saying he should be winning off of that. I think everyone kind of agrees with that, but you couldn't say that he should be rated any higher than that based on his form up to now, really. And he did flop, didn't he? I say flop, it probably was, wasn't it? Yeah, when he ran at Kempton in February, Dovecote, obviously normally a feeder going into the Cheltenham Festival, sort of underwhelmed there. You know, and that's probably like the kind of style race that this would be run at. Yeah, I mean, there's enough to suggest that he should be favourite. There's enough to suggest you'd probably want to just leave him and let him go. You might kick yourself thinking he's the one to have beat. I think Sebastopol would be more interesting for me, but it's the £6. He's high enough up in his weights now, probably. But if I was forced for a selection, I'd probably want to look at the pair, but I think Sebastopol I'd have to narrow it down to. You can see that I've got no real conviction. It's definitely a race to watch, though, because there'll be winners that come out of this after, so keep your eye on that one. Sodexo Gold Cup itself proper, the actual chase. Again, there'll be loads of feeders in here for bigger targets later on in the season. Townshend was the one that looks the obvious one at sort of entry stage. Given the fact that we knew that Surname probably wasn't going to come here, you'd think maybe there'd be some value to be had at bigger prices. I think he was 25s-ish, but the main line with this one is hacked up at Ascot, off of 136, under this jock, went up in the weights, got beat, went up, well, came down a bit, got beat. He's now 139 over fences, so he was 142, he's down to 139. £3 higher mark than when he won it before, won it with enough in hand there. You'd probably want to see the ground. You might want the ground like there's be enough like wet in there, but Townshend would be one to play. Again, I don't know whether I will actually be having a bet in this one or not. I might, for the sake of it. We'll see what the each way terms are, and this might be one that I chuck in there as an each way bet for the sake of it. But I think he's probably still big, around about 14 to 1. I think that's probably the way I'd be looking at playing it. I haven't gone through the race in enough depth, though, to be suggesting that this is a concrete suggestion, and there might be some other bits and pieces in there. Comanche Red, for example, head of the market. Chris Gordon's probably still got more improvement in it. Yeah, but I mean, he's interested enough at a price, just one to stick you onto to start with. The bumper, I again haven't gone through it in great depth, but again, looking at the names that are on there, there aren't a huge amount to be getting excited about really to begin with. Might always sound a bit harsh to say that, but hey ho, we'll see what they do when they get on the race course. So obviously the Nicky Henderson ones will be interesting. When they've got no form, there's be sale prices you can get on the Racing Post app that will tell you what they did at like 3-year-old if they bought from sales. The easiest thing is just to go and have a look at the breeding. We can see there that this is a half brother to Hurricane Fly. Do you want any more reason to back the horse? He's going to be short, obviously, based on the back of that, but half-brother to Hurricane Fly, there's nothing else that really sticks out in here in terms of the horses. It's the one to be on. I don't know what sort of price it'll open up at, but hopefully the fact that it's unraced, there's lots of other racing going on the Saturday, we might get a bit of a price on that. Now, I don't necessarily like just going in blind, backing things on their relations, but this race doesn't look very strong, to be honest. And again, it's going to be done on a price point sort of thing, so this would be the sort of race where if I've decided that there was a couple of interest in here, then you sort of price those two up and worry about the rest of the field after. If there's just the one in there that you like and you don't think the rest of the field are really up to much, so you don't think there's going to be anything creating a price out of it, I'll give myself an entry point for it. So I might say, do you know what, if they make this 2 to 1 or bigger, I'm going to back it because I know it's going to go off short. That may well be the case with this Nicky Henderson horse. What I'll do is I'll get the write-ups put up on the page fully posted. I wanted to put some selections at the end of this to say what I would be backing just to help people out with it. I'll try and get that done to post the video. I want to get the video out faster more than anything else. But yeah, Arturis would be the one to watch in the bumper, half brother to Hurricane Fly. I don't need to say any more. So be lucky. I'll get the same done for Sunday's declarations. Hopefully get that recorded a bit sooner so that's up and out. But be lucky with whatever you're backing, and thanks again for your guys' support.